Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Alright, so I just wrapped up another Kamala Harris video. It seems like that's all we're going to be talking about for a little while here. In the previous video, we tackled the latest and greatest in Democrat narratives, specifically relating to Kamala Harris supposedly bringing back every black voter that ditched the DNC. I presented evidence that counters the current Democrat narrative, so we spoke about the black vote, and now it's time to move on to the next demographic. Of course, it's the female vote. Democrats are making the claim that Kamala Harris essentially's got it in the bag. Well, just like the last video I recorded, I'm saying the same thing. It seems like the people have a different perspective. MSNBC did a little focus group with female voters in Wisconsin, and let's just say it's probably not exactly what the DNC headquarters were hoping to hear. Let me show you guys what I mean by that. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so you guys know exactly how these focus group videos go. Let's just give the floor to these Wisconsinite female voters and get an idea of where their head's at.
How do you perceive Vice President Harris compared to President Biden in terms of competency and experience?
I think she's worse. She doesn't even know what's going on at the border.
Right.
And that's what she was supposed to be doing and in charge of. I mean, as a school teacher, if I did not do what I was supposed to be doing, you better believe my job would be in jeopardy. Well, it isn't. Not only was her job not in jeopardy, she was just handed a promotion.
Is there anyone that Kamala Harris could appoint as her vice president that you would find reassuring? Would make you consider voting for her?
No. Never consider voting for her. No.
I would do RFK Jr. way before her.
Same. Absolutely.
Yeah. And she's not the first woman to run for the presidency, Hillary Clinton. I'm assuming no one voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016. So it's not necessarily going to sway you to vote for a woman in office. When do you think America will have a female president?
When there's a competent one.
I don't get a good feel for her.
I think she's an idiot.
Right.
Mary, why do you think that she's not that bright?
Because she hasn't done anything in the time that she's had. We don't know anything about her as far as her 3 years so far in the White House. She's not real smart.
Yeah, I think there's only two appropriate responses here. 2 words. The first one is oof, and the second one is yikes. Like I said, not exactly what they were hoping to hear. In other words, it's the truth. And that right there is one thing Democrats never want to hear. The frickin' truth. Well, the truth is hitting them straight in the face real quick, that clearly this little last-minute switcheroo here isn't going to instantly hand them over the election, because very simply, the average American, first off, isn't as dumb as the DNC thinks they are, and secondly, most of us don't have the memory of a goldfish. In other words, we member. Yet, newsflash to the DNC, we're not all suffering from the same thing that caused Joe Biden to withdraw from the race. We remember the last 4 years, and that right there has the Democrat establishment panicking. Kamala Harris royally sucks. At one point, she was branded the least popular vice president in American history. And no, Democrats, I can already hear you screeching, not because people are racist and not because she's a woman. No, because of her job performance. We all remember when Kamala Harris was put in charge of the southern border. She was dubbed by the media Joe Biden's border czar. And of course, what did she oversee? Well, she oversaw complete chaos at the southern border. Complete, objective, absolute, total failure. People remember Kamala Harris's performance. It wasn't that long ago. It's actually pretty fresh in people's minds. And that, of course, is a big problem for the Democrat establishment. And trust me when I tell you, they are panicking as they're now actively trying to rewrite history. You won't believe this, but now apparently the media is claiming that Vice President Kamala Harris was never actually the border czar.
Vice President Harris was not a border czar.
What he said about Harris and immigration was not true. She was never appointed border czar.
People gonna have to counter the misinformation. You already hear folks talking about the border czar. She wasn't the border czar.
Now, she wasn't the border czar. That's what Republicans labeled her.
Yeah, Kamala Harris was never actually the border czar. That's fake news, Republicans. I mean, really? Democrats are really gonna try to pull this one? Kamala Harris was never the border czar? Then please explain this.
And the Biden administration did task Vice President Kamala Harris with the issue of migrant crossings, naming her the so-called border czar.
I've asked her, the VP, today, because she's the most qualified person to do it, to lead our efforts with Mexico and the Northern Triangle
Meantime, Vice President and border czar Kamala Harris facing some back.
And this will be her first visit to the U.S.-Mexico border region since she was appointed as the border czar by President Biden.
President Biden tapped Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris, to be the border czar.
Yep, you guessed it. Democrats being as dishonest as you'd expect them to be. They're playing a ridiculous game of semantics. Joe Biden never literally named Kamala Harris the border czar. Okay, alright. It doesn't get any more dishonest than this, right? Democrats are playing semantics. Yeah, sure, he never actually named her the, quote, border czar, but he did essentially put her in charge of the border crisis. In other words, she was the border czar, in charge of the issue, in charge of tackling the root causes of the illegal migration issue. Tomato, tomato. Once again, these people are full of it. I mean, just observe the level of dishonesty, this rewriting of history. Here's a brand new tweet from Axios. The Trump campaign and Republicans have tagged Harris repeatedly with the border czar title, which she never actually had. Now let's do a flashback to March of 2021. Vice President Kamala Harris said Wednesday she plans to visit Mexico and Guatemala as soon as possible in a diplomatic effort to address surging migration at the U.S.-Mexican border. Why it matters: the number of unaccompanied minors crossing the border has reached crisis levels. Kamala Harris, appointed by Biden as border czar, said that she would be looking at the root causes that drive migration. Holy frickin' moly. This is actually the talking point. Once again, Democrats engaging in the same gaslighting nonsense. You have people who remember exactly what happened. They remember Kamala Harris and her infamous "don't come" speech. I remember the news cycle like it was yesterday, and clearly so do female voters in Wisconsin. And the Democrat counter-strategy here is, you're crazy, that never happened. Alright, so far here's the summation of the current Democrat strategy to get Kamala Harris elected. Lie, gaslight, essentially treat the people, treat us as if we're crazy or stupid, or of course the typical coveted Democrat tactic, just simply point the finger at the other side and claim that they're racist. What an absolute farce. You know, I gotta give the Democrat establishment and their media apparatus, their media machine, a super high score for effort. I mean, in terms of trying, they're in the 90 percentile. You gotta give credit where credit is due. But in terms of actual substance, yeah, not much there. They're trying so hard to spin a narrative, but clearly it's not working. We got a bunch more polls that just dropped, and this is pretty much what it's looking like. Kamala seems to be performing maybe slightly better than Joe Biden at his absolute worst, but for the most part, the race seems relatively unchanged. I mean, for Pete's sakes, NPR just released a poll showing Trump ahead by 1 point. That's freaking NPR. I don't think NPR released a poll this year showing Joe Biden losing to Trump. Let me double check that though really quick, because I could be wrong. Bear with me for a second here. Let's go ahead and take a look. Trump versus Biden 2024. Isolate specifically for NPR polls. Take a look right over here. Not a single NPR poll over the last nearly 10 months has shown Trump ahead. Now they switch Kamala Harris in, and all of a sudden, Donald Trump's winning in the NPR survey. I'd love to give it to you, Democrats, but unfortunately for you, the facts just simply aren't there. They don't back up your claims. The people obviously aren't buying it, and no amount of cringy TikTok dancing is gonna change that. If Kamala is a brat, then I'm a brat. Hashtag I'm with her. Yeah, if that's the strategy instead of addressing the actual track record, well then I think Democrats might be in for a disappointing November 2024. Anyways, that's pretty much it. That's what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.